this opportunity to speak in favor of the Surrogacy Regulation Bill 2016. This is a very, very important bill, particularly with respect to women who have been exploited extensively in a certain part of Gujarat, I don't want to name, and elsewhere in the country. Actually, for surrogacy to take place, it has to be preceded by in vitro fertilization, which has been compared to man's landing on moon. Because in vitro fertilization, a woman's ovaries are stimulated to give multiple number of oocytes, and they are then fertilized outside in the laboratory by a person who sits in the laboratory for hours together, controlling the different parameters which support life, like oxygen, carbon dioxide, the humidity and all the other protein molecules which let the embryo grow and survive. This IVF has been so difficult that it took nearly 100 years before the birth of Louise Brown could be announced by Professor Robert Edwards and Patrick Steptoe of England in 1979, followed shortly by Subhash Mukherjee giving birth to Kanupriya or Durga in Bengal, followed in 96-97 by the birth of Imran, and Professor Robert Edwards had been given the Nobel Prize for this IVF baby's birth, Louise Brown. And our very own Indian Council of Medical Research gave lifetime achievement to Dr. Ghosh Dastidar and Chakravarti for their work in India. So only after IVF is done is an embryo available for transfer and a surrogacy to follow. At the onset, I would like to bring to your notice that here it is given that the embryo is only up to the 56 days. In this age of cryopreservation today, sometimes we can cryopreserve the embryo for years together. So 56 days counted from the day of fertilization should be replaced by any number of days that the baby is given in the mother's womb. That period it can be cryopreserved. So that has to be looked at. And also in the subclause K, fetus means that the human organization during that period of development beginning from 57th day should therefore also be changed, because fetus takes place inside the womb, the growth. So this 56 days and 57 days both would have to be changed. Now let us have a public debate, I should think, like we had for the ART draft bill. I think it was started in 98, 99 by Indian Council of Medical Research. We had 3 to 4 public debates in different parts of the country, but I don't know the fate of that bill. Even today it has not been tabled. This surrogacy should have come along with the ART bill, because like I explained, that without having an IVF laboratory, without having a test tube baby, we cannot have a surrogate. So these two should have been brought together. And bringing this separately, maybe we are trying to hint at those unscrupulous people who are exploiting women, but that should have been brought together. So I suggest that we have a public debate throughout the country and take the opinion of different categories of people, including experts. Here also there is a mention about embryologists, but there is a sea change in the subject of ART at the moment. An embryologist, when I was a student in the 1980s, is definitely not same as an embryologist today. And particularly an embryologist who is growing the child in the laboratory today has his experience in vitro growth. So a specialized embryologist today is making the babies. This has to be also changed here. As I understand, there have been many meetings with the ministry, with the officers and with the professional bodies. But when the final draft of the bill was made and this was tabled here, the professional bodies like the Federation of Obstetrics and Gynecological Society of India, the body like the ISAR or the NGOs were not consulted. I think there has to be another meeting before this bill is passed. The Honorable Supreme Court, Madam, has recently decriminalized 377 and the LGBT community has been accepted to be a part of the mainstream. So we have same-sex couples now. But in the bill, there is no mention of the same-sex couples. Being a part of such a team which works on this, the person knows, the doctor knows the demand from the transgender and the LGBT community, same-sex couples, whether they are two men or two women, they come with a demand of a child. Two men couple require a surrogate mother. Two women couple don't require a surrogate mother if she is healthy. But we have to include them. If we have to do justice, we've just passed the transgender welfare bill 2-3 days back. So if we have to do justice to a transgender couple or a same-sex couple, then their mention has to be in this. So we have to consider these points seriously. The drafting was hasty. We need another bill. It is also a matter of great concern and despair, Madam, that we leave the treatment of infertile couples mostly to the hands of private clinics. Not many government hospitals have the setup to carry out in vitro fertilization and embryo transfer. To my understanding, All India Institute of Medical Science has an unit, but that is not sufficient for the whole of the country. So training should be given through people who have worked on this for more than 30 years now, and then the doctors can be appointed and super specialized embryo labs set up in the medical colleges and government hospitals to met out this treatment for infertile couples who cannot afford expensive treatment. Each injection for stimulation of ovaries varies between 1,000 and 3,000 rupees. So the government has to step in by the side of these couples to help him, and also to keep these unscrupulous private clinics at bay from exploiting these couples. And the government should have some extra fund. The separate fund should be created for infertile couples. There might be couples in which the woman has no uterus from birth. There might be couples in which a woman has no external genitalia from birth, internal genitalia from birth. There is a disease called Rokitansky-Kushner-Hausner syndrome, in which the woman has nothing. So for cases like that, it is useless to wait for 5 years for their treatment. The patient is aging every day, and as her age increases, her reserve of cohort of follicles waiting to grow every cycle is reducing. So we have to have a provision for such women who have no uterus, where we are giving them medical surrogacy. The most important cause for medical surrogacy is a woman who has no uterus, who has no reproductive organ. Her mention should be here. And also, we must vehemently stop fashion surrogacy that is taking place in our country. Not only commercial surrogacy, in which the surrogate mother is being exploited, but I don't want to name, but there are film stars and relatives of film stars who are doing surrogacy only because they don't want their figure to be destroyed. So they are using surrogate mothers. Fashion surrogacy must stop in this country. We must only do medical surrogacy, by which we will stand by these women who are suffering. Until today, our society looks down upon women who don't get children. They say in the morning, we should not look at your face because you are infertile, my day will be bad. But it's a disease. She is not budged. She is not trying to harm anybody socially. It is only that she has not been given the power to procreate. And when medical treatment is available, why shouldn't we stand by her? And also, we have to compensate. I understand that we don't support commercial surrogacy, we don't. But our own children, Indians living abroad, NRIs living abroad, not being able to conceive children abroad, should be included here. So we have not only Indian couples living in India, but Indian couples living abroad, NRIs, should be included in this so that we can give them the facility. And the Medical Council Act of 1956 has defined embryologist, but we have to change this definition because today's embryologist is much different from what it was in 1956. So another is the oocyte means a naturally ovulating oocyte. An oocyte doesn't mean a naturally ovulating oocyte. In today's science, a woman is given injections, follicular stimulating hormones to get multiple eggs. Those eggs are retrieved either by ultrasound or by laparoscope, and we might get 18 to 20 oocytes from a lady, and we might freeze them, and we might make babies from them. Those are also oocytes. So that is another mistake here. But when both members of couple are suffering with proven infertility, when the altruistic surrogacy purpose is applicable, but we have to keep in mind about the LGBT community, and we must have a public debate before we pass this bill. Thank you, ma'am.